All right, guys, welcome to La Rosa Realty's group coaching. Super excited that you guys are here. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about the buyer net sheet. So last coaching that we had, we talked about how to do a presentation, the importance of getting paid as a buyer's agent. And now we're going to talk about how you're going to incorporate that into the buyer net sheet. We talked a little bit also about, the exclusive buyer agreements and how we're going to implement that. So today we're just going to, again, talk a little bit about how to do a buyer net sheet so that you can include in the buyer net sheet what your professional fee is. Because we all know that this is coming, people. We are not going to be able to change this. It is a great thing for our market. And we all know that we need to get paid one way or another, whether that's from the listing brokerage or that's from your buyer. We need to get paid, and we need to make sure that the buyers understand that there is a fee. And now we're going to teach you a little bit about how to do a buyer net sheet so that they understand how much they're going to have to bring to the closing table when they're done with their transaction, and how that fee is already going to be incorporated in there so that there's no surprises. Okay. And that they're prepared to bring enough money to the closing table. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to start sharing my screen. And let's see where I have it. And of course, I don't have it open. So bear with me 1 second while I open it up. Share screen. Okay. Now we got it here. Okay. So for sake of presentation, we're going to be using Red Door Title app, or the Red Door Title app, in order to use their net sheet. And again, you can use the Celebration Title app, any title company app. I'm just using Red Door Title because that is our in-house title company, and so we want to use their app so that way at least you know how to use it. Okay, so you can download the app on the phone. You can also go the premium version. I actually have to renew my premium version because it already expired. But the premium, I think it's like $10 a year, something super cheap. And it gives you a lot of benefits. It gives you like infographics for your social media. Like you can do a bunch of stuff with it. So the free one does great, but the premium for $10 a year does a whole lot more for you that you can use. Okay. But right now, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about doing a buyer net sheet. So when you log in to the reddoortitleapp.com, if you don't have an account, you can go in and create a free account, but it's going to be reddoortitleapp.com if you don't have it right now. Okay. And so now we're going to go and we're going to hit buyer, right? So you're going to have, let me just make this a little bigger. All right, so you're going to have this screen right here, and it's going to say buyer. And for some reason, this is not. Okay, so you're going to hit the little buyer icon there. Okay. And you're going to come up with this particular page. Okay. It's not going to have this because I just did one, and that's why it has all this. But right here, you're going to go ahead and you're going to put, it's going to give you the option. And let me see if I can just create one from scratch. Bear with me 1 second. Let me just go to seller and then go back to buyer and see if it'll let me create one from scratch. I might have to log off and log back in, but let me just double check. Okay, here's one from scratch, kind of. Nope, it's not from scratch. All right, but we're just going to use it. Okay. Actually, no, I want to log out and do it from scratch so you guys can see it from scratch. So bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to log out and log back in. I think that's it. Nope, it's not it. See what happens when you don't remember stuff. Okay. Let's get started from scratch. All right, you guys still see my screen, right? Okay, beautiful. So we're going to hit the little buyer, and here is the buyer net sheet. This is what it's going to look like when you first log in. So here, obviously, you can add an address. Now, you can do a buyer net sheet before they find a property, or you can do a buyer net sheet when they find a property and you already know what the property address is, okay? So you can do it in advance, or you can do it when they find the property. So I would try to do it in advance. The first time I would try to do it in advance before they find a property, so they have at least an idea, more or less, of how much their closing costs are going to be based on the area that they're looking in, right? If you already know that they're looking, let's say in Kissimmee, and you kind of know already the average of, you know, how much a property's worth, how much the taxes are, you can kind of give them a rough estimate. But it's going to be easier if you do it with an existing address. So if you take a buyer out, you already signed your exclusive buyer agreement, they find a house and they say, oh, Efrain, like, okay, so how much am I going to have to bring to the closing table? Like, how much am I going to need to buy this house? So this, you can do it like that, right? So if you add an address, and I'm just going to use my address here. Okay. When you do the address and you put the address in, what's going to happen, it's going to pop up with this, and it's going to tell you what the estimated annual property taxes are. And so then you can go ahead and just choose that, right? Because now you know what the taxes are, because it auto-populates it for you based on the address. And now here you're going to decide, okay, is this going to be a conventional loan? Or is it going to be an FHA loan? Or is it going to be a VA loan? So you have all these options. Or is it an all cash loan or an all cash? So here you pick, you know, what your client has. If they have an FHA conventional. For sake of this presentation, we're just going to set FHA, okay? So FHA automatically is going to tell you that what the max FHA loan amount is. So if you know that they're buying a property that's over $621,000, they're not going to qualify for an FHA loan. Okay, so you're going to have to change that to a conventional. But if their property is less than 621, they probably qualify for an FHA loan. Okay. So now the home price. So let's say I you know, this seller is selling it for 500,000. Oops, this house. Okay, it's an FHA loan, so it's at 3.5% commission, right? So it automatically already calculates that for you. Now the interest rate is going to say an average of 6.75, which is the average interest rate right now. However, if you speak to the lender and you know already got the pre-approval, and the pre-approval says, oh, their interest rate is going to be 7%, or their interest rate is going to be 8%, depending on what type of loan it is and what their scenario is, you know, so then you can look at that pre-approval and you'll kind of get an idea of what their interest rate is going to be, and you can just change it in here. Okay. So if it's, you know, a 5% loan, a 7% loan, an 8% loan, you can change it there. Okay. All right. So now you're going to put in there the amount of years. Usually FHA loans, or most loans, are 30 years. You know, there's some loans that might be 15 years. There's some loans that might be 20 years. It depends on, again, the loan that was given to that particular buyer, or is going to be given to that buyer. Now, this is miscellaneous, where Efrain says, you know, we can probably put it here as miscellaneous, but the problem that if you just put miscellaneous, it only allows you to put a dollar amount. It doesn't let you put a description for that dollar amount. So that's going to be kind of hard, because, you know, you want to make sure that the buyer understands that that fee that's on their estimate is for your professional fee. Okay. So it's automatically going to estimate more or less how much the insurance is going to cost, you know, based on the price of the home. It's going to already auto-populate the taxes. You know how when I put the address, the taxes came up, it auto-populated the taxes. Now, if I had an HOA here, obviously I would put in there that it's, you know, whatever, $100 HOA every month or quarterly or whatever. You can change it up and put the fee there. If there is no HOA, just put in 0, because it might not let you move forward. I found that earlier. It might not let you move forward if it doesn't have that HOA in there. So I just put 0 because there is no HOA. Okay. And let's say the estimated closing date is going to be the end of June. So we're just going to put June 30th as the closing date. And here we're going to hit compute. Okay. Now you're saying, well, wait, Teresa, you didn't put you didn't put the other fee. Okay. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So now, again, it's going to tell you, hey, if the 2023 record is $8,015, but the estimated annual property tax is about $10,150. Why is it telling me this? Because here there's a homestead exemption. Here there's probably no homestead exemption. Okay, so it's calculating that this is probably going to be the buyer's taxes the first year until they get their homestead exemption. And then it might drop to that, right? So I'm going to use this one because they're probably not going to get that homestead exemption the first year, obviously. And this is going to be a more accurate estimated tax for them, okay? Because this one does have a homestead exemption. So I'm going to use done, all right? And then I'm going to go ahead and hit compute. Okay, so now here is going to give me all this information, right? So now what I want to do is I want to go here where it says detailed closing costs. I'm going to click in there and I'm going to hit edit, the button edit that up here. Okay. Now I already, when you go to other fees, I already put the fees in here. Okay. So that's why it's auto populating already. But it's going to have a little green plus sign. It's not going to have these things. I just added these things. So actually, I'm just going to remove them. Okay. So it's going to have this little plus sign. So here is where you're going to put item name and you're going to put broker professional fee. Not agent professional fee. Broker professional fee. Because remember, they're not paying you. They're paying the broker and then the broker pays you. Okay. So broker professional fee. And then you can add in here as well. Oh, it's going to ask me for a value. So let's say you're going to charge this person a flat fee, right? Because now remember, we can either charge a flat fee, we can charge a percentage, we can charge whatever we want, right? The beauty of being at La Rosa is you're pretty much all can charge whatever you want. Okay. So let's say that as independent contractors, we're not going to say as the broker, we're not going to say, oh, Efrain, you have to charge at least, 3%. Or you have to charge at least $10,000, right? We're not going to tell you that. That's totally up to you and what you decide that fee is going to be, okay? So if you put on the exclusive buyer agreement that you're going to do 3%, then you should put in here the amount for that 3%. So if we do the 500,000 times 3%, then that's $15,000 commission, right? That you're going to get paid. Right? That's going to be your professional fee. So I'm going to pretend that I put 3% on the exclusive buyer agreement, that's what I'm going to charge my buyer. And now I just have to multiply that 3% times the sales price of the house, which was 500,000. So it's $15,000. Okay. So that's my broker professional fee. And then here, I'm also going to add my, because it's not added on this net sheet, our broker, the broker transaction fee. I'm just going to add that on there. Okay, and then I'm going to put the $495 because that's our broker transaction fee. Now that's already going to be done, right? So now I'm going to click on here and I'm going to say done. So because everything's already been auto populated with the system based on the numbers you put. So I'm going to say done. Now it's going to ask you, do you want it just for this estimate only, or do you want it for all future estimates? Okay, so let's go back to this. If you do it for this estimate only, the next time you go in there to do a buyer net sheet, you're going to have to retype in broker professional fee, broker transaction fee, right? You're going to have to retype it all over again. If you put it for all future estimates, it's going to add it to any other estimates that you have, but it's going to add the same amount that you put in right now. So it's not going to zero it out. It's going to keep it at 15,000. So you're going to have to go in there and edit that amount, but at least you don't have to type it up every single time. Okay. You just have to change the amount. The broker transaction fee stays the same. It's $495. So the only amount that you're going to have to change is whatever your commission is going to be. Yes, Darlene.
So if you put percentage, would it calculate it if it comes? So you have to change that too.
It doesn't let you put a percentage in there. It only lets you put the a fixed amount.
The dollar. Okay.
So you would have to do the math and then put the fixed amount in there.
Okay.
So if on the exclusive buyer agreement, you said, oh, Mr. Buyer, I'm only going to charge you 2%. And you know that the purchase price of the house is 500, that would be 5 times 2, which is $10,000, and that would be your commission. Right. Yes, Lester.
Yes, the dog wire fraud prevent $40. Is that something? What is that?
Oh, that's for the title company. That's all related to the title company. That's not
Oh,
related to
okay.
fees that we
Okay,
charge.
I'm sorry. No, I
So
didn't
yeah,
notice
the
that that
only
was
thing
on the
that we're
title fee.
changing on here is the purchase price,
Right.
putting in the transaction fee, all that settlement fee, the endorsement, the dock wire fraud prevention, and all that stuff. Those fees are from the title company.
Okay.
Okay.
I just didn't notice that that was from the title fees. Okay.
Okay. So I'm
And
gonna say I want to do
I'm
this
trying
for.
to,
Yes, Anthony.
sorry,
Go
I'm
ahead.
trying to follow you right now. Where do you put the transaction fee at? Is that a miscellaneous fee?
No. So let me go back. I'm just going to click here for all future estimates. So that way I don't have to retype it again. Okay. So when you go there, you're going to hit edit. And on the bottom here, you're going to have a little plus sign where you can
Okay,
add
okay,
different fees.
okay. Gotcha. And this is where you're putting the 495. I see it now.
Yes. Broker transaction
So,
fee and then broker professional fee.
okay, I don't see the edit button. I'm here. Okay, you compute first, right?
You compute first. So you're going to compute first. Here, let me go back. For those of you who missed it. Once you hit compute and you see the little two circles there, you're going to go here to detailed closing costs.
Detail closing costs.
You're going to
and
click
then
on
you
there
go
and then you're going to hit edit.
edit.
And then you're going to go all the way down to it says other fees and you're going to have that little plus sign. You're going to click on the plus sign and add your broker professional fee and your broker transaction fee. Okay, and then you're going to hit done when that's done. Now, once that's done, you're going to go ahead and exit. Now it's going to compute the total bring to closing table, which includes their down payment, their prepaids, and their fixed cost. Okay, so now I want to go in here, now that I have it all together and I added all the fees or whatever, my professional fee in there. Now I'm going to go to share or print PDF. And this is what it's going to come up like, okay? Now, if you get the premium, you'll be able to put your picture in there and all this other stuff, so that information will pop up here. See how it just has my name and my phone number, so it'll give the generic information, but if you want to customize it with your picture and all that nice stuff, you have to pay for premium, and then you can add your picture in there, okay? All right, so here's the estimate. So it's got the home estimate, it's got the, again, what their estimated monthly payment's going to be with, you know, everything, principal and insurance and everything in there, everything included, okay? And then it's going to tell them what they have to bring to the closing table for this transaction. So they're going to need $46,533. That includes their down payment and their closing costs, including your professional fee. Okay, which is part of their closing costs. So now they know that they need at least $46,000 in the bank account if they want to do an FHA loan on that $500,000 property based on the information we put in the system. Okay, so now here it's gonna have all the costs populated in here, right? So as you can see, there's the down payment, there's the fixed cost. The fixed costs are costs that are fixed. Part of your professional fee is a fixed cost, okay? So you're gonna see their monthly payment information. So they'll be able to see pretty much an estimate of what their transaction is gonna look like. On the second page here, buyer FHA closing costs, right? Here's gonna give them a better explanation as to what the total closing costs are, right? So origination fee from the lender is gonna be in there. Again, this is something else that you need to ask your lender is what are they charging as an origination fee? Because some lenders might charge 1%, some lenders might charge 2%, depending on the scenario. The system auto-populates only 1%. So if you have a lender that's charging an origination fee of 2 points, which is 2%, then you have to change that in the system so that it shows that the lender fee is 2%, not 1%. Right here in the system, it's just saying 1%, okay? So now the origination fee is estimating at $48.25. There are the stamps, the taxes, the title stuff. Here's some title fees. Here's your broker's professional fee. and your broker transaction fee that you put on there earlier. So it's now going to show what their fees are. Yes, Darlene.
Says buyer agent commission. That's the one we're just going to ignore it and just type in broker fee instead of going by that.
Where's the buyer commission?
You know how you went into on the app? If you go into there, there's a actual thing that says it's a thing that you scroll down when you click in there.
Okay.
You scroll down and it says HOA, it says buyer agent commission, transaction fee, other, and something
Okay,
else.
so if it has it on the app, then you would just use that instead of doing it. This, I'm doing it on the computer.
Okay.
So this is how you have to do it on the computer. But on the app, it might have that option already.
Yes.
So if it's on the app, then you don't have to put in there the professional, you don't have to type in all that stuff, right?
Okay.
If
Right.
it's already giving you the option to put in your commission, then you can put it on the app,
Okay.
okay? And then the transaction fee, obviously you would have to put $4.95 for the transaction fee. And then when you generate the net sheet, it'll generate with that broker buyer commission and also the transaction fee. Okay,
I think it does it. I think it does it for the seller, not the buyer.
Darlene, are you looking
yeah.
at the buyer or the seller?
I'm looking at the buyer. That's what
Okay.
I'm looking at on
Okay,
my app.
perfect.
And
Okay,
it gave me the option.
okay,
It said
beautiful,
buyer's agent commission.
beautiful.
No, yeah, but I already found it. Yeah, on the budget, at the top corner on the right, say edit. The same like
Edit. If you
yeah.
go to edit, it'll give you the option.
Yes.
Oh,
got it.
okay. Yeah, I found it now.
Okay,
I
perfect.
found it.
He's
perfect.
right. Yep.
Okay, so now you can add that in there, right?
Yes, yes, you got it.
Which is what you're gonna wanna do moving forward, starting today. So
Mm.
any buyers that you're working with, you wanna make sure that they understand what their closing costs are gonna be and that should include your buyer fee, right? Your professional fee, okay? Now, let's say when you're having that consultation with the buyer, and by the way, if you do it here on the computer too, you can choose different looks, right? So I can choose this look right here that has because it gives you different options on the side there for you to choose different looks. So let's just say here, here's gonna make it look like this, looks a little nicer, right? It's got the prepaid costs, the buyers, the monthly payment, closing costs, a little bit easier to understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, the home estimate, the lender fees, the title fees. So it just looks prettier, right? So it gives you options on choosing a design that best suits you or who you're representing. If they like more colorful, you like more colorful, you can do all that. And there's different ways that you can present it here. This one right here shows a little bit more about the neighborhood, restaurants, so it kind of gives them a little more like the schools, that type of thing. So there's some in there that'll show, hey, there's 5 food trucks in the area. There's 4 burger joints, 3 pizza places nearby, 3 Cuban places nearby. So it kind of gives them a little, description of the home report and, like right here, how many, Xfinity covers there, AT&T covers there. So it gives them a little information regarding that home and that neighborhood. Here it has the 3 schools that are listed next to that school. So this is something that you can actually give your buyer if they want to know a little bit more about the community, right? Makes you look like a professional, right? So now you're not only showing them their closing cost, their estimated closing costs, but now you're attaching a little home report for them that, that looks really professional, like you took time to get it all together, and it just makes you look like, better. Now, I don't know if you guys went on my agent account. I posted today something that NAR had posted that it's 105 ways or 105 things that realtors do for their buyers. So make sure you download that and keep it handy, because that's why I want to make sure that you guys understand that you deserve to get paid, right? And it's okay to charge the buyer for your professional services because you do a lot for your buyers. And just the same way that we charge our listing agent, the seller, we should be able to charge the buyer, because you're working just as hard for the buyer than you are for the seller, right? And so it's like 105 things that buyers agents do, and it lists everything that we do as buyers agents. So it's really nice to even just have that handy. And if the agent's like, oh my God, I have to pay you that much, well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I'm just going to share this with you. These are 105 things that I'm going to be doing for you as I represent you as your buyer's agent. You know, I don't work for free. These are a lot of things that I have to do for you and represent you and do for you that, you know, and you guys should feel good about that. You shouldn't feel bad about that. And if they don't have the money, when you do the buyer net sheet, if they're like, oh my God, $46,000, I don't have $46,000, I only have $30,000, then they're not ready to buy that home. They're not ready to buy that home because they have to pay you your professional fee. Now, are we still going to have listing brokerages? Right? Do you guys have any questions about this before I move forward? Yes, Efrain.
Just if I get a contract from the seller that they say they are gonna pay me the commission or 2-3%, I'm gonna tell a good news to the buyer. I'm not gonna charge you for anything.
Correct.
That's it.
Yes. Because once, if you get an agent, let's say like Efrain, you take them to new construction half the time, right? So you know that new construction usually will pay you your commission, right? They're willing to pay you and cooperate and pay you your commission. So now, but you still want to prepare them, because if they decide, oh, forget it, I don't want to do that new construction, let me go to this house, and that agent is not cooperating, they already know how much their closing costs are going to be, right? But if you take them to a new construction and the new construction pays your commission, now you could tell them, Mr. Buyer, you know, I was able to get the developer to pay for my commission, my professional fee. So now you won't have to pay that professional fee. It's going to save you $15,000, right? Because they're willing, the developer is willing to cooperate and pay my professional fee. But if you have a resale and you call the listing agent and to find out, because remember, come July, those commissions are not going to be displayed on the MLS. They're not going to be on there. So now you're going to have to actually work. You're going to have to call the listing agent. You're going to have to ask them, hey, are you guys cooperating with a buyer's agent? They're going to be able to tell you, yes, we're cooperating with 2%, we're cooperating with 2.5, or we're not cooperating, period. Right? So if they're not cooperating, you already know that at least you have, you know, that your buyer has that money to pay you. If they're cooperating, now you can say, okay, Mr. Buyer, you know, what's going to happen? You don't even have to tell them anything. I don't even think you need to disclose that, because it's going to be disclosed on the Alta when you get paid, right? So now, instead of them needing $46,000 to buy that house, now they might only need, you know, whatever, $38,000 to buy the house. So now at that point, you can tell them, yes, Mr. Seller, I was able to get the selling agent or the selling brokerage to cooperate. So they paid my professional fee and now you don't have to, right? I'm not going to charge you because I'm okay taking whatever they're cooperating with. Okay. So now you move forward, but at least you have them prepared to pay that fee in case they need to pay that fee. And if let's say you want to put that you're going to charge the buyer's agent 2%, or let's say 3% for now, 3%, and the listing agent is willing to cooperate with 1% or 1.5%. So that means that now your buyer only has to pay 1.5% because you were able to get the 1.5% from the seller's listing brokerage, right? Not from the seller, from the listing brokerage. We got to change our verbiage. So from the listing brokerage, we were able to get that 1.5. So now you don't have to pay me 3%, Mr. Buyer, because the listing broker is willing to pay 1.5% of my professional fee. Okay. But I want you guys to get used to making sure that you guys are doing a buyer net sheet and putting your professional fee into that buyer worksheet, so that they know how much they need to bring to the closing table in case the cooperating broker is not willing to cooperate. And they're going to have to pay your fee. Okay. A forewarning. I just had an agent call me. She had a buyer presentation yesterday. She went to show one property, and then she brought her exclusive buyer agreement because she's doing what she needs to do starting now. And obviously it said there that she was going to charge 3% to represent the buyer. Now the buyer was okay with it, but this is how the conversation went. So she went and she presented, she told her, look, you know, this is this. If the listing side decides to cooperate, obviously we would reduce whatever they cooperate with from the 3%. So then you would only pay the difference. As the conversation transpires, she says, oh yeah, she goes, you know, I do have an agent. Okay. I do have an agent. But what she said, or what he said, it was a he, what he said is that he's willing to do the whole process just to have you show me the homes. Right? What does that mean? She's not going to sign that exclusive buyer agreement. Right? Because what happened was that agent told her, oh yeah, go ahead and have someone show you the houses. And if you see a house that you like, I'll handle all the process. Is what he told the buyer. So now this buyer goes, she goes to an open house. The agent is at the open house. The agent captures the lead. She goes ahead and shows her a house, but then she took her exclusive buyer agreement because we talked before she took her. She did the exclusive buyer agreement. I go, you're going to show her one home and you're going to take out that exclusive buyer agreement. She scheduled 3 appointments to go see. The buyer wanted to go see 3 houses. I go, no, you're going to show her one. You're going to go ahead and take that exclusive buyer agreement. If she does not sign that exclusive buyer agreement at that particular moment, you cancel the other 2 appointments. You're not going to take her to go see those other 2 homes if she is not in agreement that she's going to sign that exclusive buyer agreement. So when she, you know, what they did is that they scheduled the first appointment and then they left about an hour in between before they scheduled the second and the third. So that way they had time to do that buyer consultation. And as they're discussing the whole buyer consultation, the agent brings that up, that she's a property manager, that she works for a company and they do have a real estate agent on staff, but that they, you know, he told me, oh, just go ahead and have someone show you because I don't want to mix business and pleasure, show you the houses. But when you find that house, let me know and I'll handle the process. Right? So if that agent would have gone and showed her 3 houses without having that exclusive buyer agreement, she would have wasted her whole day yesterday, Sunday, showing 3 homes for a buyer who is going to be represented by someone else. So that's how important that buyer's agreement is, to fill it out immediately. You can take them to go see one house just to kind of get to meet them, show them your style, you know, but if they want to see 3, 4 houses on a Sunday, right? You want to make sure that you schedule them out far enough where you can still have that buyer consultation, have them sign that buyer agreement, and then you can show them the other houses. Because if they're not willing to sign that buyer agreement after you've met them, you've did the buyer consultation and all this stuff, then see you later. Cancel the other 3 appointments so you don't waste your Sunday showing houses and know that they're not going to sign that exclusive buyer agreement. Okay? So be aware, be conscious, don't show any homes without having that exclusive buyer agreement. That's going to be mandatory anyway. It's going to be a required thing before you show houses. You have to have that exclusive buyer agreement signed. But between now and the time that that becomes required, you can start practicing by just showing one house, doing that little buyer consultation, you know, kind of get the feel so you can practice. And again, if they don't sign that agreement, if they're not willing to sign that agreement, then you need to walk away and not waste your time. I'd rather you not waste your time now than waste your time and then find out later that they're not going to use you anyway. Right? All right. Any questions regarding the net sheet? Yes, darling. I can't hear you, my love.
I'll be muting and unmuting. I missed the part where you went into the final side where you had the option to email, print, and something else.
Okay, let's go ahead and go back to share
Mhm.
screen.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Thank you for asking, because that was a good question. See here. All right, so here you can email it, you can download it, you can print it, you can social share, which, you know, I don't really think you should social share this, but anyway, unless you're just doing a home report for an area and you want to share that, I just don't see why the social share on this, but anyway. Or your net sheet, obviously, you're not going to do a social share on the net sheet.
No. I mean, how did you get to that page?
Oh, okay, so let's go back.
Yes.
So
what-
remember that when I did
You went
this
in?
part right here, right? We're here, we already have everything done. You're gonna share or
Oh, there it
print.
is at the bottom. Okay, you don't have to go any further. There, that's
Okay.
what it was.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
you go there and then you can choose the template that you prefer to share with your client or your customer. And you can
Okay.
choose different ones right here. Okay,
Okay. I blinked my eye for a second. That's what it was. Okay, thank you.
you're very welcome. All right, any other questions regarding the net sheet and how that works and how you're gonna present it?
And you're wanting us to start that now, right away.
Yes, yes.
So even if like the seller is paying,
Yes,
okay, got you.
yes, because if you know that the seller, this is just because it's going to be a required thing, Anthony. It's going to be required
yeah.
for us to have that before we even go show a property. Okay. And right now you need to start practicing. You need to be prepared for that change. And this is the best time to start doing it. From now on, this is the way we do business. Okay. And you're going to present that even if you know that the listing agent is willing to cooperate and it's showing up on the MLS. Let me tell you, I've seen cases where on the MLS it shows that they're willing to cooperate with whatever, 3%, 2.5%, whatever, right? And as soon as it goes under contract and you go back to that listing, all of a sudden they changed the commission to 1%. Right? So now you were under the assumption that you were going to get that 2.5% from the listing cooperator or whatever, the listing brokerage, and now they just changed it at the last minute to 1%. Right? They might have changed it maybe because you didn't make a full offer price. They might have changed it because now they're giving seller concessions. They might have changed it for any number of reasons. And so you want to make sure that you're protected, because now you made an offer, you're thinking you're getting paid 2.5% from the listing cooperating brokerage, but now they just reduce that. And now you take it to the closing table and bam, you're getting paid 1% instead of 2.5 or 3%. Right? And there's nothing you can do about it. So you might as well be prepared to collect that fee from your buyer and let them know that that might be a fee to them if the listing brokerage does not cooperate. Now it stipulates on that exclusive buyer agreement, when you put down how much you're going to charge them, it says there very clear, if the listing brokerage cooperates with any part of this fee, that cooperation will be deducted from the buyer's fee. So it's not like you can charge the buyer 3% and charge the seller the 3% that they're paying on the listing brokerage, or not the seller, the listing brokerage. It's not like you can go and say, oh, they're paying 3%. I'm going to charge my buyer 3% too. So now I'm getting 6%. No, it doesn't work that way. It stipulates on there that if the listing brokerage is going to cooperate with any of that percentage that you're charging the buyer, you need to reduce your fee to make up the difference. So if you put 3% on that exclusive buyer agreement and the listing brokerage is willing to cooperate 3%, you're charging the buyer 0. Right? But if they're willing to cooperate 2% and you're charging 3% to your buyer, now you can reduce it that 2% and charge the buyer the 1% if you so choose to. You might say, Mr. Buyer, it's okay. They're paying me 2%. I'm okay with 2%. Don't worry, you don't have to pay me anything. Right? But you want to be protected. Because I don't know about you guys, but working for free is not fun. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I
You're
have a
welcome.
question. Regarding I remember when you clicked on the FHA loan,
Mhm.
that it gives you the highest loan amount acceptable. So that is, we don't have to touch it. It is always updated with whatever loan amount is.
Correct.
Oh, that's great. That's really good.
Yeah, no, it updates automatically, so you don't have to do that. So every time FHA changes their or ups their amounts, it'll change in the system.
So basically, we can actually have access to whatever loan amount there is, like whatever requirement in a way.
Yeah, I mean, the FHA is pretty much the only one that really has a requirement. VA doesn't really have a restriction on purchase price. And obviously conventional, it's a conventional, so you don't really have a limit on the price. The only thing that changes on conventional that it might be a balloon loan type of loan, because after a certain amount, I think it's after 700,000, if I'm not mistaken, it becomes a balloon type of loan type of thing. But you can still put conventional and still put your fee in there. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. That's more on the lender side, so you don't have to worry about any of that.
Okay.
Okay, as long as your professional fee is on there as part of the closing costs, then they already know how much they have to bring to the closing table. And if they tell you, oh my God, I don't have that amount to close on that house, either they have to buy a less expensive home with the money that they do have, or they have to save more money.
Right.
They're not ready to buy yet. Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys. That is it, my friends. So unless you guys have any questions, we're going to cut
One
this
more
short.
question.
Yes, Shanika.
I have a question. I hear that you're repeatedly saying that if we have a listing broker that's cooperating,
Oops,
would that come with an, since everybody's word is not bond?
right. Everybody's word is not bond. That's why you need to protect yourself with the buyer's agreement.
It's not gonna, can you hear me? No.
Yes. Well, you're muted now. You just muted yourself.
Yeah, I just unmuted it because I figure I'm outside and the signal is bad. So what I'm saying is these brokers, word is not bond. And are they going to be sending us like a paperwork when we call and say, hey, are you a cooperating listing broker? I have a buyer. Do we wait? Is there a document that they're going to be sending us to provide to show us that this is what they're cooperating with? You understand?
Well,
Oh,
what
this is
we're going to recommend in that instance, because you're right, the word is, somebody's word is not written in stone, and that can change at any time, especially if they do a modification to the listing agreement and change the commission structure. So I would recommend that before you go show the house, that you do, or even before, not so much before you go show the house, because you're going to have at least that commitment from the buyer to pay you your commission. That's why it's so important. Right? That's why I'm telling you, you don't have to disclose with the buyer if they're willing to cooperate. You're just going to say, if they're willing to cooperate, then you don't have to worry, your fee might be reduced. Okay. But if they don't cooperate, then this is what my fee is going to be. Right. So now if you do find a buyer, right, or you're calling the listing agent and you're asking them if they're cooperating with buyer's agent, and they say, yes, we're cooperating, we're giving 2.5%. Then at that point, before you make the offer, if it's not listed anywhere, you want to go ahead and have them sign a commission agreement. Commission agreements is a form that is on your .loop. It's on your, it's in most of the templates. If you don't, you can always add it, but it's called commission agreement. So you can send that commission agreement to the listing broker and have the listing broker sign that listing agreement that they agree to pay 2.5%, 3%, whatever they're saying that they're going to cooperate with. And then once you have that commission agreement signed, you can send in the offer. But at the end of the day, again, your goal is that you're always going to be protected by that exclusive buyer agreement for the buyer to pay you. So I wouldn't put too much thinking into, the listing broker's word and all this other stuff, because that's what the exclusive buyer agreement is. and you making sure that the buyer has enough money to pay your fee regardless of whether the listing broker is cooperating or not. Okay? That's what we have to remember. So if the listing broker decides not to cooperate, that's fine. But you've secured the fact that they have enough money to pay you your professional fee when they go to the closing table. And that's why that exclusive buyer agreement is a contract, right? So now once you have that exclusive buyer agreement signed and you know that the listing broker is not cooperating, when you submit your offer and they accept that offer, now with that offer, you're going to have to send to the title company, right, the exclusive buyer agreement that stipulates, just like we send the listing or the offer agreement that stipulates, you know, the offer of the property, you're also going to have to attach the exclusive buyer agreement so that the title company knows that the day of closing, they're going to have to take that money from the buyer so that they can pay you your commission. Okay? So things are going to change. I just want you guys to be prepared and start doing things now, because things are happening now. There's agents who are already not cooperating, who are charging the seller 3% because that's the only thing the seller wants to do when they're listing the properties for 3%. So if they're listing the property for 3%, trust me, a listing agent is probably not going to cooperate. So you need to make sure that you have that exclusive buyer agreement signed and that your buyer has enough money in the bank to cover your fee. And if they don't, then they're not ready to buy a home. Okay. Now there's other discussions about, you know, asking for seller concessions. If the listing broker is not cooperating, that is a way that you can get, you know, let's say the buyer is short, I don't know, $5,000, right? They have all the money, but because now they have to pay the buyer's agent, maybe they're short $5,000. So you can try to see if the listing brokerage is not cooperating with a commission. You can see if the seller is willing to do a concession. But you can't put on the offer, seller agrees to pay $5,000 concession to cover the buyer's agent fee. You can't put that in the offer. That is now going to be illegal. But you can put in there, seller agrees to pay $5,000 to help with buyer's closing costs. Right? Now, what the buyer decides to use that $5,000 with for their closing costs is up to the buyer, right? That's a credit that they're going to get at closing. So if that means that that $5,000 is to cover your fee, that's okay. You just can't put that on the offer. It's just going to be that they're getting some sort of concession to help them with their closing fees. And part of their closing fees is your professional fee. You just can't disclose that on the offer. You can't go back and say, oh, Mr. Seller, okay, are you okay with giving $5,000 to help the buyer pay me my commission? No, you cannot do that. Okay. All right, and we're going to have many trainings moving forward as this evolves, right? As all these things evolve, you know, we're going to continue to have trainings as things are changing and things are developing. But I want you to keep up to date, guys. Keep up to date with what's going on, because there is change coming and we need to be prepared for that change. And that's why we're having these classes, so that you can be prepared for those changes that are coming. And, you know, I view it as a great thing, what's happening right now. It's a great thing, right? Because we're going to have, first of all, the non-professionals are going to leave the business because they're not going to know how to handle this, right? It's going to be too hard for them. They're going to actually have to work a little bit more. So they're going to be, forget it, I don't want to do this, right? So those people are going to leave the business and the professionals are going to stay in the business. And most professionals are going to be okay cooperating. Most professionals are going to charge the seller a listing, you know, a professional fee where they can cooperate with a buyer agent, right? There's going to be those that are still going to be, you know, greedy, or they're still going to be, you know, whatever they want to be. We're still going to have some of those. But I think it's going to clean up the industry a little bit more, and the professionals are going to stay, and the people who are not professionals are going to leave. Okay, so that's a great thing for us, more opportunity for us. So we just need to be prepared. We need to be trained, and we need to be prepared for the changes that are coming, and we need to just go with the flow, as they say, right? Go with the times. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to let you go. So we're already at 8 o'clock, so I want to make sure that we respect everybody's time. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Darlene, did you have another question? No, we're good? Everybody good? All right, I'll see you next Monday.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.